to all Pilipinas, mga Pilipino, at tayo po ay mag-umpisa sa ating palatuntunan sa pamamagitan ng ating pagpapakita ng ating pagmamahal at paniniwala sa ating poong may kapal. At ganun din, after this one, we would request you to put your right hand in your breast for our national anthem. Thank you. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Saigo.
Ilikha mo kami ng sangbagong puso, hugasan ng kamay, nabasa ng dugo, linisin ng diwan, sa halay ay puno. Ilikha mo kami ng sangbagong puso, itindig mo kami, kaming iyong bansa, tibayan ng pasyal, harapin ang daya, tatagan ang loob, kahit nang hihina, itindig mo kami, kaming iyong bansa. Tanghalin o lupa ang taong marangal, tanggapin o langit ang taos kong dasal, lipulin ang tanang kahamang nagkamal, likhain mong muli bayan kong may dangal.
Ang awit. Anyway, thank you, Sai. At this moment, we would like to recognize the participants. At the moment, we have more or less 100 participants coming from 50 dioceses and our friends from other organizations. So, we'd like to recognize all the participants coming from Mindanao, our social action network in Mindanao, together with the Ministry of on Election, and also in Visayas, recognize the participants from our dioceses and election ministry from Visayas, and also from Luzon. We would recognize also the participation of our dear bishops of the Episcopal Commission on Social Action, Justice and Peace. Nandito po sa ating kalagitnaan ng ating obispo from Mindanao. Nanguna po si Bishop Guillermo Afable ng Diocese of Digos, Davao del Sur. Also Bishop Alan Caceres of Diocese of Marbel, and also Bishop Onisto Ontiuco ng ating Diocese of Cubao, and also of course ang ating Executive Secretary ng NASA Caritas Philippines, Father Tony Labiao, and also our members of our good governance team, Monsignor Oso, Father Ralph, Father Clayford, Father Atoy, Father Aldrin, and of course Linda and Ava. Also our friends from the commissions, especially Commission on Indigenous People, Commission on Youth, and Commission on LICO. They are also here. We also recognize the religious congregations who are present today. And our friends from clean, honest, authentic, meaningful, peaceful elections, kabubulang, and also our friends from other organizations who are here. Thank you. And we are at least more than 100 participants at the moment. At this point, I would like to call on our dear Bishop, Bishop Alan Caceres, the Bishop of Marbel, at the same time the Board Secretary of the Episcopal Commission on Social Action, Justice and Peace, to give the welcome address. Bishop Alan.
Magandang umaga po sa lahat. On behalf of the Chairman and members of the Episcopal Commission on Social Action, Justice and Peace, and in the name of the Board of Trustees of NASA Caritas Philippines, I warmly and with gratitude welcome you all to this webinar entitled Politics and Political Participation, a Call for People's Solidarity, Empowerment, and Social Justice. Ang haba naman. In this webinar, which is part of a series of webinars on political education organized by EXA-JP through NASA Caritas Philippines, we have with us our social action directors and their staff, as well as representatives of some religious congregation and other church-based organizations. We all know that you have been at the forefront of this important and constitutive part of integral evangelization of the Philippine Church. As indicated in your invitation, at least in my invitation, the purpose of this particular webinar is mainly to provide us with some update and analysis on the following: on the prevailing political realities in our country, especially on how politics today has been practiced by elected officials and by the electorate or voters, and on how these practices influence the socio-economic, cultural, and environmental situation and structure of our nation. We have invited, I believe, I checked on your website, Father Wilmer Tria from the Archdiocese of Caceres to facilitate this updating and analysis and to be our main speaker. Throughout this webinar, may we be guided and inspired by these words of Pope Francis in Fratelli Tutti. The Church, while respecting the autonomy of political life, does not restrict her mission to the private sphere. On the contrary, she cannot and must not remain on the sidelines in the building of a better world, or fail to reawaken the spiritual energy that can contribute to the betterment of society. It is true that religious ministers must not engage in the party or partisan politics that are the proper domain of the laity, but neither can they renounce the political dimension of life itself, which involves a constant attention to the common good and concern for integral human development. The Church has a public role over and above her charitable and educational activities. She works for the advancement of humanity and of universal fraternity. She does not claim to compete with earthly powers, but to offer herself humbly as a family among families. This is the Church, open to bearing witness in today's world, open to faith, hope, and love for the Lord, and for those whom He loves with a preferential love. A home with open doors. The Church is a home with open doors because she is a mother. And in imitation of Mary, the mother of Jesus, we want to be a church that serves, that leaves home, and goes forth from its places of worship, goes forth from its sacristies in order to accompany life, to sustain hope, to be the sign of unity, to build bridges, and to break down walls, to sow seeds of reconciliation. If the music, the Pope continues, if the music of the gospel ceases to sound in our homes, our public squares, or our workplaces, our political and financial life, then we will no longer hear the strains that challenge us to defend the dignity of every man and woman. May this seminar be a way of sounding the music of the gospel of Christ, not just inside our church, but in the political squares of our beloved and suffering motherland. Again, magandang umaga sa lahat and welcome.
Nakamute ka, Kuya Edil. Kuya Edil, nakamute.
Sorry, maraming salamat Bishop Alan for that warm, educative and inspiring welcome remarks. Kailangan talaga natin yan sa ating panahon ngayon, lalo na ng panahon ng pandemic at in preparation for our 2022 elections. At this point, I would like to, first of all, nakalimutan ko, sorry. Ako pala si Edil Guyano, yung moderator of this webinar. At hopefully, we have a very inspiring and very meaningful discussion in our webinar today. At this point, I would like to introduce our speaker. Kanina, narinig na siguro ninyo, ang ating pong magiting na tagapagsalita. He's a priest for about 30 years and kasi he was ordained in 1991 in the Archdiocese of Caceres. He has also a PhD in philosophy in Anglican Rome in 1995. He is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer ng Consuelo Chito Madrigal Foundation sa Bicol po. At the moment, he is also the Director of Ateneo Dinaga University Press. And he is also the Chair of Education Cluster ng Archdiocese of Nueva Caceres. He is also the President of Catholic Education Association of Caceres and Limanan. I think with those credentials, I would like to introduce to you Father Wilmer Joseph S. Tria. Father, take it away.
Maraming salamat, Tito Ed, at saka kay Bishop Alan for the opening remarks. At saka kay Father Tony Labiao, yung narinig ko napakasipag na Executive Secretary po. Sa mga bishops who are around, Bishop Ness, siya po yung Bosco Vice Rector sa Colegio Filipino while I was studying there 28, 29 years ago. Sa mga bishops, Bishop Jerry, Bishop Jimmy, Bishop Cosme of their respective dioceses. Sa lahat po ng mga directors, social action directors, and bishops, si Bishop Rolando Tria habol daw, may misa siya ngayon sa isang parokya namin sa Archdiocese of Caceres. So, hindi ko lang makita yung screen, yung talk ko. So ito po yung binigay na topic sa akin, politics and political participation. A call for people's solidarity, empowerment, and social justice. The same sentiment from with Bishop Alan, napakahaba ng topic. But I hope makatulong whatever I have prepared for this webinar. Mag-start lang po ako sa disclaimer. Natakot ako sa invitation na research daw ito. Sabi ko, hindi naman ako social scientist or political scientist. And then, usually pag social science, you just present facts from your surveys. So you become descriptive. Pero tayong mga pare, mga philosophers, theologians, preachers, we are more prescriptive in our discipline than descriptive. So ito pong presentation ko is more philosophical, theological reflection rather than research. Ano po? Yung mga different topics to be discussed. Una, what is politics? Yung basics, etymological meaning ng politics. And then education, the same. Going back to the disciplines of Plato, of Aristotle. And then magbibigay po ako ng cases ng euphemisms. Karamihan nito galing kay Noam Chomsky. And then what should we know? Ito yung mga present realities sa politics natin. And then a critique of the Duterte legacy, which for me is ironic. And then we will end with concrete courses of action. So sa umpisa, what is politics? We know that politics comes from the Greek word polis. Yung mga philosophers natin noon, sina Aristotle, sina Plato, Socrates, they were in search for a beautiful, meaningful, active, participative community, a well-organized community. So bininyagan nila ng polis, the word polis. Parang tayo, gusto natin ng mga very participative a community for our church. Kaya bininyagan natin na basic ecclesial community. So ito yung pangarap nila, polis, a city-state. Now, because of the polis, pinanganak yung mga words like politics, na ang true meaning is the art of good citizenship. So pag sinasabing politika, pinag-uusapan paano ba tayo maging mga active, participative, empowered citizens. Pag tinawag na politician, yung pumapasok sa politics, they present themselves to be the model citizens. And then, pag tinawag na policy, they are sets of ordinances, of laws that hone good citizenship. So, sabi ni Aristotle, law is to hone a virtue. And then, yung police, sila yung law enforcer to ensure good citizenship. So, kung titingnan natin, wala namang masama sa politics. Ngayon lang parang nasira, kaya sabi huwag kang tatampisaw sa politics, sa politika, kasi marumi yan. Pero yung original plan, concept, experience ng politics ay napakaganda. So other derivatives like polite, like to have a polished character, or cosmopolitan, ibig sabihin you can mingle with other races, with other cultures, with other city-states, respecting their cultures, their religion, and so on and so forth. So, lahat to positive.
Nawala
Father
pong
Wilmer.
sound.
Wala.
Umina ang internet ni Father.
Nawala is Father.
Na steady siya, oh.
Nawala ang sounds ni Father.
Oh, nalaglag yata si Father.
Later, but siguro ako na lang para to maximize this time yung ating training orientation on circle of discernment sa lahat po sa Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Sa Mindanao po ay sa September 7 ba, and Visayas September 6, and then we have Northern and Central Luzon on September 10, and on September 9 is NCR and Southern Tagalog region. So napaka-importante po itong ating gagawin later on, and as I said, maybe Father Tony will expound later on about this one. Kasi po ito ay yung napag-usapan na process na gagawin natin sa ating involvement sa election, sa ating mga bumoboto, para they will be informed and really there will be a discussion, an interactive discussion about who will be to be voted, yung ating mga, lalo na sa ating mga BEC, at kailangan natin ito, and we encourage all the dioceses to participate in this orientation seminar. Okay po. And siguro din there is already an initial talk and discussion with other electoral advocates like PPCRB, NAMFREL, the two citizens arm, and then also other electoral groups like Peter Movement, Justice and Peace, Justice and Commission, and tayo na, and also LICO, those who are involved in elections, for coordination and partnership effort. Kasi alam natin ang ating election ay kailangan talaga ng ating solidarity and unified action. So mayroon na tayong initial at maganda ang nangyari, at hopefully in the coming months ay magkaroon talaga ng tunay na pagkakaisa ang ating mga electoral groups para magkaroon tayo ng malaking impact sa ating kampanya for a clean, honest, authentic, meaningful, and peaceful elections. So ating inaasahan at sana ay magtagumpay tayo sa ating layunin. Wala pa rin si Father. Sorry mga kababayan, ating mga kapatid, this is part of the challenge sa ating technology ngayon. No one is exempted. Lahat po ay nakaranas ng ganito. Minsan nga yung aming, just to tell you a story, minsan nga yung sa Vatican, an hour before, a minute before the activity, they canceled the activity because of the connection issue. So may talagang hindi natin ma-project yung mga ganitong pangyayari. So we ask your patience and indulgence for this. Okay na siya, nakabalik na si Father. Ayun.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Nakabalik
Hello,
na po
Father.
ba? Nag-brown out dito, biglaan. may sumabog na transformer sa downtown. Nadamay kami.
Welcome back po.
Okay na po ba? So, babalikan natin yung politics, politicians, etc. Tinatawag natin sa linguistics na cognates. Ibig sabihin ng cognates, pinanganak silang sabay-sabay galing sa isang magulang. Kaya maganda naman na sinasabi ng mga encyclical, si Pope Leo XIII, sabi niya, a good Catholic is always a good citizen. So if we recall, politics is about good citizenship. So politician is a model citizen. And sinasabi naman, kino-confirm ni Pope Leo na a good Catholic must always be a good citizen. Politics is God's call to build His kingdom on earth. So, hindi matatanggal yung calling, yung pagiging Katoliko sa pagiging politician or politiko. Therefore, we can say we are all called to be politicians. Politicians in a sense that we want to hone people and ourselves to become good citizens. And building God's kingdom entails social transformation. So ito, sinasabi na natin to ng mga bishops na social transformation is equal to building God's kingdom here on earth. But social transformation is a work in progress. Ibig sabihin, hindi naman natin to ma-accomplish in one sitting. It cannot be accomplished by a quick count. So wag tayong mawawala ng pag-asa kapag laging may problema sa ating bayan. We continue to form people. Ito na, yung sinasabi ni Bishop Alan, magandang na-mention niya po yung Fratelli Tutti. Kasi yung Fratelli Tutti is about brotherhood, about fraternity, and at the same time, he speaks about a lot about politics here in this document. I'm sure the bishops, the clergy, have already read this book. Required reading ito sa amin. But for the lay people, kailangan ding ma-cascade dito sa kanila and to everyone, to every Catholic. The Pope makes use of the parable of the Good Samaritan. And it starts with the victim. Siyempre, entailed with the victim is the thief, the robber, who injured the victim. Sa Pilipinas, maraming crimes pero walang criminal na nahuhuli. Pero ito, connected ito. And then we have the story of the passers-by, the priest, and the Levite. And then, of course, the Good Samaritan. Kaya, ang center ng story is about the Good Samaritan. But in the encyclical, si Pope Francis nagbigay ng another way of looking at the story. So, we have the victim victim. And in our case, they are the Filipino people, the poor ones. Sila yung mga deprived of justice in our land. And then we have the story of the Good Samaritan. Ito yung story ng the call for a good Filipino citizen. Kailangan natin ng mga good citizens who have the heart and sympathy with us people who suffer. And then, yung rarely nakikita natin, yung mga Filipino frontliners. Ito yung the man at the inn na sinasabi ni Pope, yung Good Samaritan might have spent an hour with the victim. Dinala niya sa inn, tapos nagbigay siya ng pera, and then he left. But most of the time, the one who really took good care of the victim was the man at the inn. Ito na yung mga Filipino frontliners. I use the word frontliners kasi ito yung familiar na word tayo during the pandemic. And then the last is the inn. Di ba yung inn, kailangan niya ng business permit. Kailangan niyan sumunod sa mga vision, mission, goals, strategies so that it can continue to serve the public. Ito na yung state. So sinasabi ni Pope na mahalaga una yung Good Samaritan who has the ability to identify people who are suffering. And then siya yung magdadala sa victim doon sa inn na may mga taong nagtatrabaho para sa mga victims. So can you imagine kung halimbawa una may victim pero walang Good Samaritan. Lahat passers-by, lahat mga apathetic, walang care sa human suffering. So we need people who are good citizens. But at the same time, even if there are good citizens, paano kung dinala ng good citizen sa inn, tapos yung mga nagtatrabaho sa inn ay mga magnanakaw din. Titingnan, i-check yung victim, meron pa tong relo, meron pa tong pitaka, nakawin natin. Parang napakapangit. So ito yung picture ng politics kapag yung mga nagtatrabaho sa public service, public office ay mga magnanakaw. And of course, we need the inn, yung sistema, yung vision, yung goals ng isang state. So, take note, yung passers-by were religious persons. Actually, ang mga kaaway ni Jesus noon, yung mga Pharisees, yung mga nasa power, and most of them were religious leaders in Judea, the priest, the Levite. So ano yung sinasabi ni Pope Francis? Ikinuquote ko na lang na let us admit, tanggapin natin. For all the progress we have made, we are still illiterate when it comes to accompanying, caring, and supporting the most frail and vulnerable members of our developed societies. We have become accustomed to looking the other way, passing by, ignoring situations until they affect us directly. So, titingnan natin yung mga maraming pinatay during this government, itong time na to, tapos very silent tayo, parang tahimik. So, somehow we are all guilty of this, na parang we can identify ourselves more with the passers-by, with the priest, with the Levite, than by being a good Samaritan. Ito yung parang examination of conscience na challenge ng ating Santo Papa. In reality, politics is an institution of charity more powerful than a religious organization. Nung na-lockdown tayo, dati may savings kang 200, tapos biglang naging 40,000. Tapos nung na-prolong yung ECQ, meron ka na lang na cash flow sa simbahan mo, sa parokya mo ng 3,000. Parang nakakatakot, di ba? And then, still, you have the moral obligation to help the people, yung mga nagugutom, tutulong ka. Pero yung politics, hindi na ibsan ng pera eh. Nakapagbigay na ng SAP, nakapag-distribute pa ng mga manok, and so on and so forth. Because they are in the position of charity. And the Holy Father recognizes this tremendous power of politics. And if democratic and open for discussion and dialogue for participation, it can truly serve the common good. So sayang if we abandon politics. We really have to be involved in politics because it is originally an institution of charity. So again, sa first talk ko po, we are called to be good Catholics, good persons, good citizens, good politicians. So nandito pa lang, sinasabi na we really have to be participative. We have to be active in politics. To participate in politics is to be a good Catholic. Okay, so pasok tayo sa education. Sinama ko po yung education because yung tawag ng webinar is political education, and then I'm also in charge of voters education. Karamihan sa atin tinatawag itong voters education. But we start again, parang politics from polis, saan galing yung education? So it comes from ex ducare, which means to lead forth, ilabas, ipakita yung totoo, yung mundo. So, related po ito dun sa allegory of the cave ni Plato. Tingnan natin yung allegory, balikan natin, sinasabi na yung mga tao parang pinanganak at lumaki sa loob ng kuweba at ang nakikita lang nila yung mga shadows. So, walang nagtuturo sa kanila na yan ay shadow lamang, hindi yan yung totoo. So, education means ilalabas ka namin sa kuweba upang makita mo yung totoong mundo. So, ito yung in general, the etymological meaning of education. Now, balikan natin, what are these shadows? Sa popular language, they are the advertisements. Diba? Mga propagandas. Like the apple, diba? Papagandahin. Masarap itong apple na yan. Tapos, ikaw naman, gusto mo na kilatisin, anong klaseng apple? Anong benefits ba ng apple? But the advertisers, the marketeers will say, maganda yan, may benefit yan, may health benefits, 100% organic yan, and so on and so forth. But what happened to Adam and Eve in paradise with the advertisement of an apple with benefits na 100%? So they were kicked out of paradise. So, ibig sabihin, many times we are being fooled by advertisements, by propagandas. Ito na yun. Ngayong panahon, saka natin nakita at narinig yung mga fake news na nagpo-proliferate sa social media. Napakabilis mag-spread ang fake news, and that's why even Facebook, sina Zuckerberg, do not want to mess with fake news. Kasi yun yung gusto ng tao. And then the trolls, in-employ ito para malinlang yung mga tao. So these are examples of the shadows in the cave. And that's why we need education. So ano yung goal of education? To gain wisdom. Hindi siya yung TESDA education. Ito yung highest form of knowledge. Di ba alam natin na ang basic is skills. Marunong ka magluto, mag-drive, etc. Tapos marunong ka ng sciences and mathematics. But even more than science and mathematics, we need to be wise citizens. We need to be wise leaders. We need to be wise lawmakers. So, yun ang pinakamataas sa hierarchy. And that's the ultimate goal of education. In other words, pag sinabing wisdom, it's global, having the global perspective, the big picture, holistic view, and so on and so forth. Basta ang importante, nakikita mo yung kabuuhan, hindi yung patsi-patsi. And then, let's go to the approaches to education. Kukunin natin yung ideas po ni Paulo Freire. Si Paulo Freire is speaking in behalf of the third world countries, and the Philippines is a third world country. Kaya ang title ng book niya is The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Iba dapat ang approach para sa kanya sa third world countries. We know that most of our educational systems are patterned after the West. Eh yung West naman may agenda yan eh. They want to continue to colonize us, at least in terms of culture, mindset, through education. Kaya ano sinasabi ni Paulo Freire? There are two approaches. The banking approach, yung binabagsak sa'yo yung knowledge, and the problem-posing approach. Pinaiisip ka. Ano yung epekto ng dalawa? Anong pagkakaiba? Sa banking approach, yung approach is lecture. Gaya ng ginagawa natin sa simbahan. Nagpipreach tayo, nagtuturo. And then because of that, we produce docile people, mga masunurin. They become disciples, they become pawns. So maganda naman ito when it comes to absolute truths that save. Pero pagdating sa governance, hindi ito yung kailangan natin. Ang sinasabi ni Paulo Freire, kailangan natin yung problem-posing approach. Magpe-present ka ng problema. Halimbawa ng problema. Bakit sa Pilipinas sinasabing marami ang poor, marami ang pulubi, ang naghihirap? Pero pag tiningnan mo yung top 10 na malalaki, super malaking mga malls, we have 3 na nasa top 10. Parang it's ironic, pero yan yung pwede ibigay natin na problem. So, case study. And then, because you present a problem, you encourage reflection from your audience. Pinaiisip mo sila. And then, because nag-iisip sila, they are entitled to their own opinions. So, pagdating sa classroom, lahat nagpa-participate. Lahat sila nagtatanong, lahat sila nagbibigay ng kanilang opinion. So, ito yun, banking and problem-posing approach. Balikan natin yung pagkakaiba ng dalawa. Sa banking approach, ano yung culture na nade-develop? Yung canine loyalty. Sa first year mo ng pagiging mayor or governor, yung mga tao medyo aloof pa sa'yo. Arf! 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 And then bibigyan mo sila ng piraso ng burger na kinakain mo. Tapos, gano'n na naman, parang aso. Arf! 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 Pero later, binibigyan mo na ng buong burger, di ba? Mag-start na yan na halikan na yung paa mo. Hanggang sa second term, third term, parang ikaw na ang Diyos. Ayaw na nilang palitan ka. Ikaw na talaga ang kanilang boss. Ikaw na ang kanilang mayor, governor, etc. So, yun yung nangyayari sa culture ng banking approach. Pero yung sa problem-posing approach, turuan mo silang maging problem solver. Yung mga tinatawag nating mga madiskarte sa buhay, nakakaisip sa sarili nila. So, sa long term, makaka-create tayo ng suicide bombers through banking approach. Actually, sa mga Muslim countries, they discourage education. Sunod lang kayo sa imam nyo, pag prayer time, etc. And then, when the moment comes na kailangan yung mag-mission, susunod kayo. So yun yung mga canine loyalists, mga suicide bombers. You can practically ask them to do whatever you want them to do. Susunod sila because they become docile. Pero sa critical, sa problem-posing approach, pinaiisip mo, natitrain mo silang mag-isip. So nagiging participative sila, nagiging critical thinkers sila, nagiging critical sila sa governance. Nagsasalita sila. So, in the end, what is the duty of the citizen? The minimum is discernment. Mag-isip tayo. Ito naman yung panawagan ng mga santo, panawagan ng Diyos sa atin na gamitin natin yung wisdom. After all, that's the whole purpose and objective of education. Mag-isip. Okay. Para maging konkreto yung sinasabi kong problem-posing approach, yung critical thinking, Chomsky sa kanyang librong Hegemony or Survival. So anong ibig sabihin ng euphemism? A mild or pleasant word or phrase that is used instead of one that is unpleasant or offensive. Parang sugar coating. Pinapatamis mo yung pangit ang lasa. Halimbawa, ethnic cleansing. So, ethnic cleansing, pag narinig mo ang cleansing, parang napakaganda. Pero actually, it means genocide. Yung Holocaust, biblical term. Pero actually, it means crime against humanity committed by the Nazis against the Jewish people. Yung collateral damage, di ba pag nangungutang ka, siyempre collateral, wala nang masama dyan. Pero actually, it's bombing of civilians, di ba? Dinadamay mo kasi may mga kalaban among civilian villages. Pero papatayin mo sila lahat. Misencounter, recent ito, 6 years lang ito. Narinig natin nung may Mama Sapano encounter. Sabi, ay misencounter lang yon. Pero actually, we know that it was a massacre. Buhay pa pero pinagbabaril nila. 2 days ago, kasama ko si Archbishop. Sabi, paunahan tayo, ano yung titawag sa covert war, covert operations. Ito pala yung term. Naunahan niya ako, low intensity conflict. Pinapaganda lang, pero actually it's still war. Or ito, reproductive health, na which actually means abortion. Si dispute. Okay, Noam Chomsky ulit ito, na tinatawag lang dispute. Pero in our case, it's actually Chinese invasion. Nandito na sila. Kinuha na nila yung mga isla natin. Or ito naman, mga practical, save more. Akala mo nakaka-save ka, but actually it means consumerism. Natabunan na yung bata. Dami-dami biniling mga laruan. So, euphemism in the Philippine context. Are Filipinos poor? Most of the time, we use the word poor. Sabi ni Paulo Freire, sa third world countries, we love to label the people as poor. But we never use the word oppressed. Ang tanong, are we really poor or are we oppressed as a people? So this invites us to reflect and think critically. Because we cannot cure illness if we do not know its cause. Diba? If we cannot educate unless we see what we ought to see, dapat maintindihan natin kung ano ang real situation ng mga Filipino people. So ito yung mga pictures of poverty to convince us that Filipinos are poor. Now, if we are poor, the usual response is poverty alleviation, poverty reduction, zero hunger. Kaya yung mga community pantry, madaling mag-viral, feeding programs, 4Ps, para ito yung acceptable solutions natin sa poverty of the people. But ano yung nangyayari? They only make us more and more dependent on our patrons. Diba? Sabi ng isang congressman namin, may pupunta sa kanya, hingi ng gamot. Pagpatay na, hingi ng coffin. Lahat na lang hinihingi sa kanya. Until nagiging dependent yung mga tao sa mga patrons nila. So what do we fail to see? Ano yung hindi natin nakikita? Euphemisms make us blind to reality. They may be diplomatically correct, but they make evil reality look good. Euphemisms send the message that the world has only minor problems so that we can do our business as usual. Para wag tayong makialam, gaya nung priest and Levite na mga passers-by, tinatakpan nila yung real suffering of the people. If there are major concerns, it is their problem, not ours. So the result is apathy. Sa beginning chapter ng Fratelli Tutti, the Pope gave the title, Dark Clouds Over a Closed World, that obstructs us from seeing the reality of the suffering of the victims. Ang isa sa contributory factor dito, yung mass media, yung use of euphemisms according to Noam Chomsky. So that kaya nandun yung apathy of the priest and the Levite. So right now, we have the deafening silence over the killings committed by the government. Yung first months, first year, parang na-shock and awe tayo sa sunod-sunod na pagpapatay ng mga Pilipino. So balik tayo sa wisdom. Wisdom makes us see the reality behind the euphemism. Ito yung sana goal ng educational system natin. To gain wisdom para makita natin yung totoo, yung reality behind fake news, behind the euphemisms. So poor makes us blind to the cause of poverty. Pag poor kasi, convenient siya kasi parang wala namang tayong mabiblame sa poverty kundi sila. Kaya tingnan mo, bakit ka poor? Pinaaral kita eh, tapos nag-asawa ka kagad. Bakit ka poor? Kasi sugarol ka eh. Meron ka nang naipon pero sinugal mo. Bakit ka poor? Linusaw mo kasi ang utak mo sa droga. So, sino yung sinisisi natin sa poverty? Ay yung poor mismo. Kaya tayo nagiging apathetic. Wala na tayong pakialam sa suffering ng mga tao. We always blame the poor for their poverty. But the Good Samaritan never did that. Hindi niya pinagalitan yung victim. Ikaw kasi, nag-iisa ka, wala kang bodyguard. Ikaw kasi may dala kang pera pag naglalakbay ka, parang gano'n. But oppressed makes us see the oppressor. Ito yung mahirap. Kaya sabi ni Paulo Freire, rarely will leaders, political leaders, would use the word oppressed. Oppressed makes us see the oppressor. Para hindi to convenient truth. So balik tayo, are we poor or are we oppressed? There are many indicators of oppression. Yung physical oppression committed by the military and by the police. Alam na natin to. Si Bishop ng Caloocan, Bishop Ambo, alam niya ang physical oppression. And then the psychological oppression by our leaders. Na nailagay lang dito yung president. Kasi siya naman yung nagmumura sa simbahan, nagmumura sa mga poor, sa LGU, sa lawyers, sa judges, pati sa COA. These are all psychological forms of oppression or cyber oppression, yung mga bullying ng mga trolls and so on and so forth. So these are concrete indicators that we are an oppressed country. They lie because we are vulnerable to lies. Di ba madali tayong sumunod sa fake news? They scam because we are vulnerable to scams. They cheat because we are vulnerable to cheating. They extort because we are vulnerable to extortion. So ito yung natural, parang hindi natural, normal. Hindi nga normal, pero ito yung real situation ng mga Pilipino. Kawawa ang mga Pilipino. So what should we know? Ito po yung real picture. Ano po? That there are 300 plus political dynasties in our country. So we can name them all the way from the north to the south. Alam natin na nagma-mushroom, nagpo-proliferate ang political dynasties in our country. And mas mahirap, mas malakas ang political dynasty. So ito po, ito yung picture ng bansa natin. 80% are poor in a sense that they are beholden to leaders. 19% are middle class na kahit i-oppress sila ng mga leaders, mabubuhay sila. And then 1% elite. So most of them are the oppressors in our land. Sa educational system naman, based sa statistics, based sa survey 2017, ito yun, more or less 20% are college graduates. So only 2 out of 10 children graduate in college based on a 2017 survey. Yung PhilAm Life gumawa ng survey ng ganito, siya yung recent, ito yung nila. And ito yung magre-reinforce nung sinasabi natin na ikaw college graduate tapos mag-hire ka ng driver, ng labandera mo, etc. kasi sila yung walang tinapusan. So the 23 graduate, most of them are inclined to work for the rich, for the elite, and many times for the oppressor. So pag nag-graduate ka ng law, you will work for an oppressor. Pag nag-graduate ka ng engineering, you will work for the projects of the oppressor. Kaya ito yung makikita natin na proportion, na pag may political dynasty, guaranteed na may poverty. Kasi political dynasty proliferate, thrive on the poverty of the people. So namimigay sila. Ito yung the heresy of parang mabait sila, nang bibigay sila, pero sila naman yung nag-maintain ng status quo of the poor people. The most potent weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So ito yung importante sa oppressor, na kontrolado niya ang utak ng mga oppressed. Ito yung mga parang rhetorical question for our own reflection. How can we be prophets when we dine and wine with the elites? When we dance and feast with the oppressors? When we are beholden to them with their generous donations to embellish our cathedrals? Ito yung real problem natin. Most of the time, they thrive because we are their partners. Si Noam Chomsky would say, we were more genuine Catholics when we were celebrating masses at the catacombs than we started celebrating masses at huge cathedrals. So he was referring to the time when Emperor Constantine embraced our religion. Tapos, and made us wear clothings of an emperor. So this is a call to Catholic discernment. Are we called to please the oppressors? Are we called to be ministers of the oppressors? But we can only accept this only if we accept the fact that we Filipinos are oppressed rather than poor. So ibig sabihin, kung wala naman sanang oppression and oppressive system, we would never be poor. Okay, number 5, Duterte's legacy and irony. In the first place, why did we like him? Bakit 16 million ng Pilipino gustong-gusto si Duterte? Because he was patriotic. He pretended, nagpakita siya na patriotic. He loved the country. He loved the young people. And then he was iron-fisted. Parang opposite ng pendulum ni Ninoy na parang soft-handed si Pinoy. And then anti-oligarch. Tapos i-compare niya kay Pinoy sa mga Aquinos na sila mga oligarch. Anti-corrupt. Okay? Talagang matapang siya. And then he also promised economic reforms. So ito yung mainly the reasons why the Filipinos voted for him. Okay, oftentimes he would kiss the flag to portray patriotism. But now, di ba, binenta niya o binigay niya ang Pilipinas sa China. Can we still consider him patriotic? Parang if we look at the big picture, we should question his patriotism. Iron-fisted. Atapang talaga. Pero sino ang inipit niya? Sino yung binuli niya? Mga babae. Si Laila, si Risa, si Sister Pat, si Jay, si Reno. So, again, we would question his manliness, yung pagkalalaki niya, kung talagang iron-fisted siya. Anti-oligarch. Napakaganda. Inuna niya si Roberto Ongpin, the Lopezes of ABS-CBN, Lucio Tan, and so on and so forth. Tinira niya. Talagang parang anti-oligarch siya. Tapos ang bahay niya, simple lang. Dinalaw pa ni President Abe of Japan. Pero sino naman ang kinampihan niya? Dennis Uy Bongo, Mark Villar, Marcoses, and so on and so forth. So parang doble kara. Hindi ka pwedeng maniwala basta-basta na he is anti-oligarch. Anti-corrupt, pero inabsuelto niya. Si GMA, si Revilla, the Marcoses, tapos he continued to reappoint yung mga taong kine-question na ng ombudsman, ng COA. And then he would rant against COA. Inutil kayo. Bakit pinablish niyo yung corruption ng gobyerno? So, by doing that, Duterte is actually telling all his public officials, Mangurap kayo, magnakaw kayo, ako bahala sa inyo. And economic recovery. 2015, tinawag na tayong Asia's most promising economy. 2021, tinawag na naman tayong sick man of Asia. Bagsak ang ating ekonomiya. Yung importation natin, 2015, 15.92 billion. Tapos, noong 2018, 50.2 billion. Pumasok mga products ng mga incheck. And due to heavy importation, anong nangyari? Ang number one na tinamaan yung aquaculture and fisheries natin. Dati yung galunggong ng mga tao, galing sa Pilipinas. Ngayon, imported from China. Galing naman lang sa Panata Shoal. Manufacturing, noong 2017, 8%, 2018, 5%, 2019, 3.2% na lang. So, bumagsak din because of the heavy importation. Ang sinasabi ng mga economists, para may balance economy, dapat at least 60% lang ang consumer natin. Yung consumer.
Video.
Okay pa ba? Pero ngayon, nasa 70% tayo, 72%. Pero bakit afloat pa yung economy natin? Is it the investment? No. Is it the production? No. Is it the exports? No. Bagsak tayo sa investment, sa production, sa exports. Ano yung nagbubuhay sa atin? Simple government spending. Yun lang ang nagpapabuhay sa atin right now. Noong 2015, ang budget deficit 9%. Ibig sabihin nito, ito yung tax revenues, tapos ito naman yung expenditure ng government. So, ang deficit lang natin 2015 is 0.9. Noong 2019, nag 3.4. Noong 2020, 7.5. Ibig sabihin, napakalaki ang government spending compared to the taxes that we can collect from the people. Okay, ito yung last two na ironic, mga legacies ng ating Pangulo ngayon. Nung martial law, may 2,000 murders. Yan, yung recorded na namatay, may proof. Pero may 8,000 tayong desaparecidos. Ibig sabihin, ito yung mga taong nawawala na lang, walang ebidensya na pinatay sila. And this happened, 10,000 na to happened in a span of 21 years during Marcos period. Pero because of Duterte's war on drugs, ano yung inadmit nilang pinatay? That's 6,117 recorded, admitted killings during police operations. Pero according to the CHR, Commission on Human Rights, ang estimate nila is 27 to 30,000. Ito yung mga nagsusumbong sa kanila na mga pinatay during police operations. And only in a span of 5 years. Diba? So that is really horrible. Another, ito yung total na utang ng 6 na presidente from Marcos up until Aquino, 5.94 trillion pesos. Pero ano yung utang ng ating presenteng Pangulo? That's 13.7 trillion. Ganyan siya ka-powerful, ganyan siya ka-big time na mangutang sa ibang bansa. So, ito yung magiging legacy ng ating presidente after he ends his term. Now, yung last part na po, what can we do? Remember, yung sinabi ko kanina, social transformation is a work in progress which cannot be accomplished by quick count. Dahan-dahan, surely, but slowly but surely. Konti lang pong experience ng ginagawa namin sa Archdiocese of Caceres. Nung naging pare po ako, ang kinagisnan ko yung mga pamphlets coming from the national office, yung tungkol sa mga goons, guns, and gold, ano po, nung time na pinatay na si Benigno Aquino. And then, nag-introduce na tayo ng mga political fora. So, every time may election, we invite the governors, the congressmen, the mayors, to engage in a political debate. Tapos yung mga tao nagpa-participate, nagtatanong sila. Plus operations quick count, all under the social action. But lately, nung dumating po si Archbishop Rolando Tria, maingay kami. Sabi dapat may talagang formation component. So me and my big mouth, he created a commission on the promotion of social teachings under the education cluster and made me the head of that. And at the same time, ako rin yung head ng education cluster. So because of that, gumawa kami ng sarili naming mga materials. We meet and then we produce like homiletic guides for the clergy. We provide the themes for Advent, Christmas, Lent, Holy Week, Easter, and then sinishare namin sa mga kaparian. And then we make PowerPoint presentation like this, for the parishes. 3-minute catechesis before Sunday masses. Binabasa natin yan. And then right now, we are trying to produce modules for Araling Panlipunan for Catholic schools and hopefully for private schools. So ito po yung pinagyayabang namin na ginawa ng aming obispo, 30 questions na pwedeng dahan-dahan pinag-uusapan sa mga BECs, binabasa sa mga misa for 3-minute catechesis, etc. So what can we do? Ito po yung parang nakikita kong strategy for our diocese. Yung educational cluster will concentrate on the production of materials. Para maturuan natin yung mga tao on participation in governance, good citizenship, etc., etc. So, ito yung mga clientele natin, mga possible audience na materials. Catholic schools, private and public schools, na non-sectarian, seminaries, lay organizations, parishes, NGOs. And then, may mga ministries tayo and desks or commissions who can take care of that. The campus ministry for the Catholic schools, the private and public schools, yung mga catechists natin, seminarians, they have their formators, the lay organization, they have the Lay Formation Institute. Sa parishes, inintroduce natin yung BEC or Saradip na Kristiyanong Komunidad. And then also for the NGOs, kasi may mga dioceses who run cooperatives, NGOs, microfinances. Maganda rin to kasi every week nag-meet sila. And we can make use of this in order to form their consciences, and help them become good citizens. Sa Catholic schools naman, kasi recently po ako yung naging president ng Catholic Educational Association, ito yung nakikita ko from grades 4 to senior high, dapat meron tayong influence sa araling panglipunan. Kasi ito yung, wag lang tayong mag-concentrate sa Christian living, kundi pasukin natin yung araling panglipunan. Sabi ng aming obispo, patriotism, kailangan ituro sa mga bata. Pero, pag dependent tayo sa mga textbooks published ng iba, ano yung mga missing dyan? Makikita natin, di naman nila dinidiscuss ang social teachings, yung empowerment, culture of empowerment. Kasi nasa atin yung culture of dependency, parang napakasarap yung feeling na nakakabigay ka. Pero that only develops culture of dependency. Kailangan natin yung empowerment. Silent din sa martial law, di ba? Sino naman ang publishing company magdi-discuss ng martial law? Sila, market-driven sila. Or the evil of political dynasties. Hindi yan pinag-uusapan sa mga libro natin or decolonization. So, ano yung gusto kong sabihin dito? We should be proactive in the curriculum development instead of being dependent on the contents provided by publishing books. Kasi sila, wala naman sila sa advocacy. They are more into market-driven sila. They want sales. Tayo, yung Catholic schools, we are more on, siyempre gusto na din nating mag-survive. So kailangan natin ng enrollment. But dapat may advocacy tayo, especially the promotion of the social teachings of the church. At saka yung reality, para walang revisionism, walang fake news, talagang ituro natin sa kanila yung evil effects ng political dynasty and so on and so forth. So sa BC naman, community organizing, shepherding, ano po, kasi pag nag-preach lang tayo, pag sa homily lang tayo, pastoral letters, at hindi dinidiscuss sa baba, parang at walang community organizing, shepherding, talaga mas makikinig yung tao sa iba kesa sa atin. We are not really their pastors. Hindi tayo yung sheep or shepherd na kilala nila ang boses. We have to go down to their level, to their communities, to zone, purok, street level, conducting prayer meetings and catechesis. That's the only way. And then, alam to ni na Ava, ni na Tito Ed, yung ubas, ugnayan ng barangay at simbahan. Maganda yung mga barangay pastoral councils natin, may magandang ugnayan sa barangay council, sa kapitan at mga kagawad. Gawa sila ng conscientization activities, parang maglilista ano yung mga needs, basic needs na wala, basic services na absent or missing in your barangays. What are your local issues? What are the basic social services needed in the barangay? And then, if possible, we encourage them to conduct a joint state of the barangay address, what we have accomplished so far in this partnership. Kasi sa parish, meron din tayong SOPA, State of the Parish Address. So pagagawa din natin yan sa barangay level, na gumawa rin sila ng State of the Barangay Address, especially sa social services aspect. Ano yung mga kailangan ng mga tao? So I would like to end with the word pakikialam, kasi parang pejorative word ito. Huwag nga kayong makialam. Yung simbahan, laging nakikialam. So we need to be clarified about this pakikialam. What is it? What is it not? It's not about gossiping. It's not about fake news or trolls. It's not about prying on private lives. But pakikialam is a real duty of every Catholic. It's participation in governance, critical vigilance, because of the inseparability between politics and being good Catholics. So I would like to end with the saying na a good Catholic is always a good citizen. Galing kay Pope Leo XIII. With a formed social conscience, armed with social courage. Pwede nating gamitin ito. Pwede kasing matapang ka for nothing, di ba? Bully ka for nothing. Pero dapat may purpose yung courage. The purpose of courage is to promote social justice. So we call it social courage promoting social justice. So thank you po. Salamat sa pakikinig nyo. Tapos kung meron po tayong mga questions, baka makabigay po ako ng answer.
Maraming salamat, Father Wilmer. That was very important. Medyo balik tayo ng very basic information about or education about political education. At the same time, napakaganda po at very powerful yung presentation mo. It calls us for reflection really of what we are doing in our ministry. Siguro mas maganda at this point, we would like to hear the reaction from our Executive Secretary, Father Tony Labiao. Father Tony. Father Tony, still there? O nawala? So habang wala pa si Father Tony, we would promise to all the participants. Nagano na ako eh. Narinig ba ako? Parang nag-praise din yung ating ano eh.
Nag-e-echo ka, Kuya Idil.
Oo. Saan kaya to? Oo. Anyway, habang wala pa si Father Tony, yung mga hiniyo, we promise to send you the presentation of Father Wilmer. Ibigay namin sa iyo. So, Father Tony,
Dapat humingi tayo.
Ano na, kasang sila sa misa ng dahil. Oras na.
Oras na.
Oras na sila.
Ay, tayo, makuha na kita. Cut na.
Father Tony, narinig ba mo ni Father Tony kaya?
Andyan na siya pero parang may problema yata ang audio niya.
Oo. Parang so as promised, ibibigay po namin yung presentation ni Father para makatulong sa inyong ating education. Kailangan natin yun. Father, hindi pa
Nag-echo yung sounds mo. Baka meron kang cellphone na nakabukas sa tabi mo.
Wala.
Kasi Father Tony wala pang audio.
Oo.
Naririnig ako, Idel.
Yan, okay na, Paz.
Yes, Pads. Okay na.
Nagbago lang ako ng tawag nito, gadget kasi hindi nag-breakdown yung isa.
Sige, Pads. Okay. So, it's now your time, Pads.
So salamat. Salamat kay Father Wilmer for very comprehensive and timely sharing about education natin for our preparation for the forthcoming election. So good morning sa ating mga obispo na sumama ngayong umaga, sa mga social action directors natin, mga volunteers sa ating mga social action centers, mga partners. It's really amazing, no? Yung sharing ni Father. So una, kasi si Idil sabi niya I should be the reactor, no? Kasi hindi ata available yung inimbita nila. But part of my reaction is like this, no? Una, it's really clear. We need to be a good Catholic. I think this is a call, no? Hindi lang siguro tayo na nandito sa Zoom o hindi lang tayo nandiyan na sumusunod diyan sa ating Facebook Live, but this is really a call for everybody, no? Tayo ang pinakamarami sa bansang ito, and we need to be a good Catholic. And to be a good Catholic, we need to be a good Filipino citizen. I think this is first thing that I want to say, no, this morning. Pangalawa, politics is not dirty, no? As the bishops would say in their pastoral letter few years ago, no, politics is not dirty. What makes it dirty and who makes it dirty ay tayo, the politicians, and we Filipinos make politics dirty, no? Na kung titingnan natin, politics is there, no, to help us, no, to build God's kingdom on earth. So that's the second point that I want to share. Politics is beautiful. We need it, and we need, kung ito ay marumi, ito ay inabuso, sinira. Now this is the time for us to bring back that honor, that dignity, and bring back that politics to its real purpose or objective in our country. So, yan ang pangalawa. Pang-tatlo, as part of my reaction to the sharing of Father Wilmer, recently when I got involved now in NASA, I've been involved in UBAS. It started here in 3 dioceses of Cubao, Novaliches, and Caloocan. When it was initiated by the late Secretary Robredo. And we know the objective of UBAS really mobilizing, creating opportunity spaces for the people on the ground to participate in the building of their community. Nandiyan si Bishop Ness. He is one of the bishops who shared a lot about UBAS. Kasi that's the term that we got from Caloocan, and Bishop Ness made a confirmation that it's a beautiful word that we use for our advocacy for the grassroots good governance, because it's biblical and it's very it's easy to remember. And according to Bishop Ambo, the UBAS ang UBAS ngayon ay nagbunga na ng bayabas. Ibig sabihin ng bayabas, bayanihan ng simbahan at mga barangay o mga barangay at simbahan. So that's nakita dito na the importance of people engaging in the coming election or in every election, engaging in a political exercise. Mahalaga 'yon, no? We can no longer go back to the old way of educating ourselves on politics. I think people's involvement, engagement is very important. Totoo yung sinasabi ni Father, we are not just apathetic. We make use of politics for our own interest. So this is very important to realize, and we know that only people can help renew this politics. We can no longer expect that from leaders. There are leaders who will be interested in engaging in the renewal, transformation of politics and society, but we need the initiative, the power from the people on the ground. And I think the process is very important, discernment, because this facilitates the interaction, reflection, sharing, and active involvement of ordinary people on the ground. Maraming kasi nagsasabi, yung ating mga pamamaraan sa voters education for several years, hindi talaga nakarating sa baba, on the ground, lalo na sa tinatawag nating mga laylayan. Hindi nakakarating doon. Ang nakakarating doon kasi mga politiko Kasi year-round, in 3 years, every 3 years, halos araw-araw yan nandoon sila sa baba. No? Tayo na lang ay gumagalaw panahon ng election. Kaya may problema dyan. That's why ang ating Social Action Network is organizing a webinar on circles of discernment for empowerment to provide us a structure, a methodology and spirituality in conducting this kind of political education that Father Wilmer is sharing. Well, mayroon siyang mga proposals doon on how to cascade But this is really a good attempt now that we all go down to the ground. No, we have all the structures, we have all the instruments and resources in the church to do that. Hindi lang talaga natin na maximize yung mga resources na ito. Maybe this is the right time to do that. So we are conducting seminars by regions, no? And I know, and in Mindanao it will be on September 10, whole day seminar yan. And in September 7, Visayas. September 9 is in CR and Southern Luzon. And then, Southern Tagalog, September 10, Central and Northern Luzon. This will be facilitated by the group of Father Melo, Dilaab Foundation. I've been involved in this foundation since 2008, and there is that module on side, we call it SIDE, Circle of Discernment for Empowerment. And we want to share this kind of methodology, structure, and spirituality. And with the input of Father Wilmer and other inputs that our resource persons gave us, hopefully starting September, last week of September onwards, each diocese can come up already with an education plan. No, how to reach out to all our parishioners, especially on the BEC level or in communities that are not really, we call it marginalized, because they are really far, from us, from the center of our parish or diocese. So magandang pagkakataon ito na kailangan natin simulan ang pagbababa. Tama yan, this is a good process. We have to start it, and let us be good Samaritans, and we infect each other and many people, so that everybody can be involved and engaged. So para sa akin, may pag-asa, may pag-asa. Gamitin lang natin ang available resources that we have in the church. Marami pa tayong magagawa. We should not be intimidated, or we should not allow people to overpower us or to oppress us. Mga kapatid, simbahan lamang yata ngayon ang tatakbuhan ng maraming tao, inaasahan ng marami ang simbahan, and let us get them in, and hopefully we can start the process of rebuilding transforming our country, our society according to the values of the gospel. Again, let us become good Catholics, and let us get engaged and start the process of renewal and social transformation. Again, Father Wilmer, thank you very much. Sana hindi lang ito ang first and last engagement mo sa Social Action Network of the Philippines or Caritas Philippines. We will continue our partnership so that we can do more for our mission in this country, renewing the politics for the Philippines. Thank you po.
Maraming salamat, Father Tony, that points that you have raised, at saka yung mga information about the activities of NASA pertaining to the 2022 election and good governance. Maraming salamat ulit, Father Tony. At this point, I would like to inform everybody, if you want to ask questions, kindly click the lower bottom right side, your reactions, to raise your hands para ma-recognize your questions. So may una na agad eh. I would like to ask the floor to give to Bishop Pabli. First question.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Mine is not a question; it's just a reminder that in our continuing political education, we should really make reference to what PCP2 30 years ago mentioned in the Acts and Decrees regarding the vision of society according to PCP2. It's in Numbers 253 until 255. So kindly make reference to that, because it really gives us, excuse me, gives us a vision of our Philippine society, and giving us encouraging us and emboldening us precisely to do our political education, especially during this period of the elections. Thank you very much. Father Wilmer, congratulations and thank you very much. Galing-galing mo. Pwede ka ba imbitahin sa Mindanao?
Surely po. Kahit pandemic, surely.
Maraming salamat, Bishop.
Thank you, Bishop.
Bishop,
Noted.
Yan mo. Yun na, reminder sa atin. Maybe we can also revisit yung ating PCP2 na parang nakalimutan na natin as the Bible for the Philippine Church. Next, I would like to recognize from Cotabato, Edgar Ramirez. Please come in.
Yes, mayong buntag, mayong udto kaninyong tananda sa social action. I was invited by Father Clifford Pera to listen to the lecture of Father Wilmer. And I do appreciate the lecture that reminds me of my college days about the social teachings of the church. Yeah. But I cannot force myself but speak out by sharing also our experiences based on the presentation of Father Wilmer. Of course, we have been engaged into political education. What is, I think, critical, by way of sharing, I don't have questions to Father Wilmer, but by sharing that what is critical now, based on our experiences here in the BARM, particularly Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. As to the word of Father Clifford, then, is that we should not only be outlooker. Of course, what is critical now is that we should find the platforms for engagement. I know political education is very critical in our engagement, but what is also critical is that what are those platforms? We should be able to identify what those platforms, other than the church, I mean, in other words, going out from the comfort of the church platforms. My proposal is that, based on experience, there are already gains if we really engage, be it in dialogical approach, be it on the, we call it education approach. Engagement is very critical, and that really requires expertise. For in our case, in the Archdiocese of Cotabato, we have an instrument or a vehicle for doing that. We have the Christians for Peace movement. It's an ecumenical group, where Bishop Lito Lampon is also active. We should also be certain of our political agenda. We should be clear of our political agenda. What as a church, what do we really want to happen? What do we need to do, as a church? So, of course, that those should be guided. Basically, those are guided of our the gospel values, the social teachings of the church. Of course, there is also a question of the language that we should bring, because in our case, we are basically not only ecumenical group here, but an interfaith group. So the language is very critical. In other words, I mean, when we say social teachings, we cannot always bring that. And now we might as well bring those democratic principles. No, establish the democratic principles. I mean, the universal democratic principle. So that's my sharing for this discussion or sharing.
Thank you, Edgar. We will consider that, and maybe later on, Father Wilmer will react to your recommendations. And I recognize Brother Johnny, Cardenas, before Father Wilmer will answer the questions or react.
Salamat, Kuya Idel. Magandang umaga ho sa inyong lahat. Napakaganda po nung hamon ni Father Wilmer tungkol sa pagiging good citizenship nating mga Pilipino. Hindi lamang dapat tayo talaga nakatuon sa kung anong galing o ganong sama nitong ating mga leaders. Pero kailangan talagang pagtuunan din ang pansin kung anong klaseng mamamayan meron tayo. Kung kaya't ang PPCRB ngayong election po sa ating voters education ay bibigyan natin ng pansin yung sinasabi ng ating preamble. Yung ating pong konstitusyon ngayon ay hinabi yan noong 1987 pa. At sa preamble ay meron po itong 16 na values na kung saan dapat ay nasusunod natin bilang mga Pilipino para tayo maging mabuting mamamayan. Para yung pangarap ng ating bansa na maging humane society magkaroon ng katuparan. Tayong mga Pilipino ay maging mabuting mamamayan. Alam po ninyo, kahit sa isang pamilya, kahit anong galing nung tatay, kahit gaanong kabuti, kapag hindi maganda ang mga anak, hindi maayos, ay mahirap pamahalaan. Kung kaya't himukin ho natin ang ating mga kasamahan, hindi lamang sa mabuting pagpili ng kandidato, medyo bibigyan lang po natin sila ng himukin, nabigyan ng pansin. Anong klaseng Pilipino meron tayo? Meron ba tayong problema? Mahirap ba tayong pamahalaan? So kailangan ho natin yung good citizenship. Salamat, Father Elmer, kasi binanggit niya.
Okay, salamat, Brother Johnny. Father Wilmer, if you can say something about those suggestions and recommendations, what do you think?
Okay po. Una sa lahat yung sinabi ni Father Tony na napakarami natin ng mga materials, yung social teachings of the church. Ang problema lang, talagang hindi natin nakakascade to the grassroots. Ano po, yun yung problema. Kaya kung babalikan natin yung mystical body of Christ na tinuturo ni San Pablo, parang ang disease ng Pilipinas, yung gangrenous, may mga parts. Halimbawa, yung oxygen, yung blood natin, hindi nakakarating sa laylayan, sa mga daliri. Kapag hindi nakarating dyan yung blood, yung oxygenated blood, di magiging gangrenous yan hanggang napuputol yan. Kaya yun yung pagkukulang natin, yung zeal to teach, to educate, to accompany, to shepherd the people. Parang naging elitista tayo na sabi nga ni Pope Francis, mga tao tayong naghihintay lang sa parokya pero hindi tayo pumupunta sa kanila. So yun yung isang challenge na we can only claim na effective yung voters education, yung political education if we do accompanying shepherding down to the laylayan ng lipunan. Isa po yun. So pakikinggan lang tayo ng mga tao kung nakikiramay tayo sa kanila. Pangalawa, yung sa dual citizenship po, ano po, na malinaw ang agenda, ano yung agenda ni Jesus? Hindi political agenda, hindi yung earthly city. May dalawa tayong citizenship, the earthly city and the heavenly city. Pero si Jesus, malinaw sa kanya na I did not come for the earthly city. Ang importante, hindi yung makatalsik natin yung mga evil leaders. Ang importante, magbago muna tayo. It starts with us. Yung pagiging good Samaritan natin, yung pagiging good citizen natin. And then the rest will just follow. But we can only be motivated by our obedience to the will of the Father. Importante na tayo'y makadiyos, tayo'y tunay na Katoliko. And then the rest will follow. We will become good citizens only if we are good Catholics. Sabi ni John Paul II, do not concentrate on what you can do kasi it can be a yung heresy of good works. Kasi yung mga politicians, iniisip mo na ano yung pwede kong gawin sa mga tao na pwedeng mapicturean, yung Instagrammable. So, that good work becomes heretical. Pangit, hindi maganda yung motivation. So, importante muna, sabi, concentrate on the tree than on the fruit. Mag-concentrate ka muna sa tree. Ibig sabihin, cultivate your life, yourself, through prayer. And then kahit tulog ka, gagawa ka ng mabuti sa iyong kapwa. Parang yung tree, kapag dinilig, kapag binigyan mo ng organic fertilizer, kusa na magbibigay siyang mga magagandang bunga. Huwag mong pilitin yung pangit na kahoy na magbigay ng magandang bunga kasi hindi rin yan magandang bunga. So yun lang po yung pwede ko rin na idagdag doon sa mga reactions and reflections na shinare po ninyo sa akin.
Father, meron tayong katanungan from the chat box galing ng Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan. At perhaps siguro yung ating ibang mga kasama, lalo na ating mga bishops, baka they can also help you answer this question. Ang question po ay ganito, mayroon po bang mga existing initiative ang simbahan na support system accompaniment sa Catholic youth na interesadong pumasok sa politika? May mga grupong tulad ng Young Davis, referring to the AECY, na may ginagawa sa ganitong aspeto, pero gusto po namin malaman if may iba pa bang katulad ng mga initiatives. Yung really accompanying certain group. Yun ang katanungan po, Father, at saka siguro baka yung ating mga bishops kung mayroon silang nalalaman tungkol dito. So yun. Father, are you going to...
Sa akin ba yan yung question? Kasi
in your experience at saka sa ibang ano rin. Kaya I was referring also to the bishops, especially sa diocese, kung mayroon bang ganitong support system sa mga organizations o kaya ministry.
Opo. Kasi 'di ba hindi naman partisan ang institution. The church cannot be engaged in partisan politics. The moment na yung institution mag-endorse, magbigay na ng system, as an institution, it becomes partisan. Pero every individual, every Catholic must be engaged in partisan politics as an individual, but not as an institution. So, sa tingin ko, wala namang pwedeng gawing sistema para sumuporta. Pero meron tayong mga institutions, mga halimbawa, Institute of Good Leadership sa mga universities. So, young pa, pero natuturuan na natin kung ano yung good leadership. So, iba naman yun. Hindi naman yun partisan. Tinitrain mo lang sila para maging magaganda at mga magagaling na mga public servants. So, magkaiba po yun. Pero as I've said, hindi pwede yung simbahan mag-engage sa partisan politics na isusuportahan mo yung isang bata, isang young man na gustong pumasok sa politika for this political party.
So, is there any reaction from...
Kuya Idil, pwede ba akong magsalita galing sa sangguniang laiko?
Ate ka muna dyan, sandali lang. Si Bishop, do you have Bishop Alan, Bishop Fabli, or Bishop Onchioko? Is there any support system that you have given to initiatives, for example, especially yung mga ministry natin doon sa ating mga simbahan in relation to activities pertaining to election?
Edel, meron ako niyan.
Ano yung PPCRD? Kung wala po...
Ako, meron.
O sige, Brad Vigania, and John will be... Sunod ka.
Tungkol sa engagement, no? Sa aming diocese, sa Diocese of Cubao, through the Public Affairs Ministry, meron po kaming tinatawag na PPLG. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? People's Participation in Local Governance. At tinuturoan natin dito mga mamayan na interesadong sumabak sa usapin ng politika. Tinuturoan natin ano ang basic services na binibigay, for example, ng barangay. At paano makakasali ang mga mamayan maging aktibo na makilahok during meetings, kung may mga projects na i-implement, paano ka sasali sa monitoring. So we call this people's participation in local governance. Napakaganda po itong entry level ng tinatawag nating UBAS, yung ugnayan ng barangay at simbahan. Yun lamang po.
Sige, Brad Vigani, pero parang ang tanong is there a program of the church na, for example, certain group in our diocese na gustong kumilos na mayroong suporta yung ating simbahan? Just like in the Young Davids of the Episcopal Commission on Youth, mayroon silang na sinusuportahan ng ibang ministry doon sa ating programa sa simbahan. So, yun siguro ang katanungan ng SLB. Anyway, I hope later on we can resolve that. June, mayroon pa pala na una dyan, sorry June. I would like to recognize yung ARCAM, question ng ARCAM. Jojo, are you there? Jojo?
Wait lang po. Magandang tanghali po sa lahat. Wala akong tanong kay Father Wilmer. Ang usapin pa nga ay nagpapasalamat ako dahil napakaganda ng kanyang presentation. Kaya lang, sa aming karanasan dito sa Archdiocese of Manila, bago nailipat si Bishop Abilio ay tinask niya yung Ministry of Public Affairs na pangunahan yung partisan political participation. Kaya lang sa unang bahagi kasi ay nagkaroon kami ng parang hindi ganun kagandang hindi naman confrontational or whatever, pero parang usapin kasi na ano ba yung public affairs at saka yung PPCRB, no? Kasi kung kami ipapasok sa partisan political participation tapos ang kabila naman ay non-partisan, so parang sino ba sa aming dalawa? Pero pag binalikan natin yung Second Provincial Council of Manila, malinaw dun sa emerging ministries na task ng public affairs yung pagpapatakbo actually ng mga lay people para sa mga posisyon para talaga yung sinasabi ni Father Wilmer ay magkaroon ng katuparan. No? Unfortunately, sabi nga ni Bishop, that was 30 years ago pa. No? Yun nga, sana ma-resolve din yun. Sana at panawagan din na sana makapagburin tayo ng uniform education or formation activities kasi sa part namin nahihirapan kami. Hindi namin alam kung paano namin titipunin lahat ng mga formation materials, educational materials for that matter. At alam naman natin na nasanay yung ating mga mananampalataya, papangunahin na yung mga aktibong laiko natin sa mga simbahan sa non-partisan participation. Kaya para ngayon ay struggle sa amin. Pero so far, nakapagbuo na kami ng ARCAM Electoral Committee na yun ang main task. Kaya lang meron pa talagang kailangang At ang isang number one problem namin ay yung mga educational or formation materials na maaaring kung meron tayong sanang uniform na materials para dito ay magiging malaking tulong considering na 8 or 9 months to go na lang ay 2022 election na. So yun lang po. Maraming salamat.
Sige, maraming salamat din Jojo. Maybe later on baka mayroong sa ating including Father Wilmer suggestion about the internal problem. Siguro to talagang problema ito sa diocese kasi while we involved in elections, especially in mga citizens, there are also portion sa ating simbahan na mayroong initiative din to go partisan. Baka pwedeng yung ating mga obispo can advise us or provide us clear suggestion, recommendation about this. Bishop Alan, Bishop ako na tatawa, hindi lang kita.
Sige. Una sa lahat, you always take guidance from your own bishop, because you take your guidance always from your bishop, not just among yourselves. So on this matter wherein you act in the name of the church, you should have the clear guidance from your bishop. I could only speak for my diocese and in terms of what I know about the social teachings of the church. It's very clear that we distinguish between partisan politics and bringing our faith to political spheres. Partisan politics is always a no-no for the church, in the name of the church or in any group in the name of the church. But all lay are called, the church says that the lay people are the one competent in the area of politics. But they have to decide individually, and they should not decide as a group in the name of the church. That is, each lay should decide individually by their own conscience. That's why, for me, honestly, it's very dangerous, even for any Catholic lay group, somehow attached to some official organization or structure of the church, to endorse a specific candidate or to involve in partisan politics. That's for me, it's very dangerous. We lose more than what we gain, I believe. That's why you should be very careful, very prudent. But again, I could not decide for you. You dialogue with your bishop and you respect the decision of the bishop. Because there are also exceptions in the teachings of the church wherein the church will involve in some kind of partisan politics. In cases like, for example, extreme situation. Example, what happened here in the Philippines during the time of the election before EDSA revolution. You remember that the church was actively involved and very clear. We were directly involved in partisan politics. But that was a matter of discernment because of the unique, very extreme situation of the time. Now again, it's bishops who decide, are we in that situation now? But again, the general rule is no to partisan politics, but on the other hand, we should not be neutral and we should not get involved in politics. We should bring our faith into politics, and the church should speak about politics. The bishops should speak about politics, bring faith into politics by their preaching, by their evangelization, but never involved in partisan politics. You should never involve, however, you should not involve the whole church in partisan politics, but the church should involve in politics. I hope I'm giving you clear guidance. But the bottom line, again, for its diocese, for its lay group, dialogue with your bishop, take your guidance from your bishops, never decide on your own. Thank you.
Sige, maraming salamat, Bishop Alan. John, it's your turn.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Kuya Edil. Magandang umaga po sa inyo mga kabunyian. Ako po si June Cruz. Ako po ang PRO ng Sangguniang Laiko ng Pilipinas. At nagpapasalamat ako kay Father Wilmer. 100% po tinatanggap namin ang inyong mga tinuturo. Mukha nang nasabi din ni Bishop Caceres na tinatanggap din namin na talagang kailangan namin sumangguni at makipag-ugnayan sa ating mga obispo. Ngunit ang akin po sasabihin ngayon ay mayroong blessing ng Council of the Laity of the Philippines. Kami po ay naninindigan bilang isang grupo sa ilalim ng Episcopal Commission Apostolate na kinakailangan ang mga laiko na siyang nandito sa teritoryo ng mamalakad ng politika ay kailangan talagang kumilos. At kami po ngayon ay lumalapit sa inyo upang humingi ng tulong at ang inyong pangunawa. Sapagkat ang aming tinutuunan ngayon ay itong particular 2022 election lang. Dito lang po kami nakatuon muna ngayon sapagkat marami namang gumatrabaho ng iba't ibang mga bagay pagmula sa voters registration, voters education at iba pa pong mga bagay sa eleksyon. Ang hinihingi po namin sana ay kung maaari na sa pamamagitan ng voters registration at sa gitna ng voters selection ay magkaroon nga ng circles of discernment at maturuang pumili through education ang mga tao natin. Ngunit kung walang mapagpipilian, ngunit kung sasabihin natin mamili kayo kasi tatakbo si Sandro Marcos at si Pariñas, maglalaban sila, ano po ang ituturo natin sa kanila? Wala po silang mapagpipilian. Kaya pong hinihingi namin ay kung mayroong mga laiko na uupo at magsasabing kailangan na ba nating baklasin ang mga political dynasties? Ay ang mga laiko din ang mag-usap-usap. Ano ang maaari nating gawin? At pagkatapos na silang mag-usap-usap at masabing kailangan tayong magpatakbo ng isang taong laiko na may kakayanan o mayroong mga katangian, okay? Ay ilapit natin sa ibang tao yan at ilapit din natin, okay? Sa ating mga kabunyian. Sabihin, Bishop, may nagdasal po kami. Hindi namin dala ang pangalan ng simbahan, hindi namin dala ang pangalan ng aming mga organisasyon. Ngunit itong grupo namin, nakikita na pwede itong taang to. Okay? At konsultahin natin ang ating mga obispo. Hindi kailangan ng endorsement. Okay? Sasabihin lang naman ng bishop, ay parang kilala ko yan. Sabi yan, I find nothing objectionable naman siguro, pero walang endorsement. Ang hinihingi po namin ay yung pangunawa na kami po ay sana ay kikilos at sana sa pagkilos namin ay mabigyan naman ng suporta. Mangitian man lang kami. Yung sabing, sige, teritoryo nyo yan. At sapagkat alam namin na hindi pwedeng pumasok sa partisan politics ang organisasyon at ang simbahan natin po. So yun po ang aming panawagan. Kung maaari po sanang yung aming conversation nung nakaraang August 7 ay naipalabas na rin po sa mga obispo, ay pumari lang po sana na maipalaganap din. Humihingi po kami ng tulong sa inyo na sana po ay masuportahan yung mga pagkilos ng mga iba't ibang mga individual na laiko na gustong magsama-sama at magtulong. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat, John. Parang karamihan dito, action na ang gusto, action ng mga recommendations. Anyway, Father Wilmer, entertain muna natin itong dalawa bago ka sumagot if you have any reaction. Tawagan mo muna si Nilo. Nilo, you are recognized.
Yes, Father, sa mga po natin, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Salamat po at na-recognize po with due respect kina Father Ralph Mestisamentes, kina Father Tony Labiao. Ako po ay taga-parokya ng Banal na Sacramento dito sa Diocese of Novaliches at bahagi po ng core group ng Public Affairs Ministry ng Diocese of Novaliches. So, with due respect nga po, salamat po sa pag-recognize. Saka natapos ko po yung report ko kahapon, isasabit ko po kina Father Ralph, tungkol po sa naranasan ko na pag-uusapan po yung Public Affairs Ministry, yung UBAS, at paano magiging involved sa barangay level. Ito try ko po paano mapa-shorten po siya. Kumbaga, ganito po, may politiko po dati sa barangayan na ako po bilang chairman ng PPCRB, marami pong naging problema doon sa barangay namin. Tapos natalo po siya, marami po bilang chairman ng PPCRB, marami po akong nakitang mga dayaan at kalokohan na ginawa. Yung natalong politician. Opo, ang pangalan po nun, Perdi Soledad. Sa Diocese of Novaliches po kasi, meron pong diocesan guidelines. Ito po, diocesan guidelines na sinusunod. Tapos nakalagay po dito sa under Public Affairs Ministry, sa letter F, promotes strong partnership and active involvement in the barangay to make barangay a center of development. Ayan po. Nabigyan po ako ng decree of appointment nung pari namin, na-submit ko po sa diocese bilang public affairs coordinator. Naging effective po ako doon bilang bahagi ng core group po. Tapos nung ginawa ko po yung mandato kong yun, yung pinag-aralan ko po talaga yung job description o mandato ng Public Affairs Ministry. Nung nakipag-usap po ako sa barangay, nabigyan po ako ng appointment letter. Nasa akin po yung mga originals. Appointment letter, nabigyan po ako ng oath of office. Tapos po yung mga meetings and invitations, meron po ako, halos 10 piraso po ito, mahigit pa, yung iba lang po ay nawala. Sa madaling salita, nagampanan ko po yung pagdalo. Tapos na-open ko po sa kanila yung programa ng Masa Masid at saka po yung AKAP. Abot kamay alang-alang sa pagbabago. Ito po yung pagtulong sa mga natokhang at yung pamilya ng mga natokhang. Sa madaling salita po, naging effective po ako doon sa barangay. Tapos, bali 2 barangay pa nga po ito, isang 164 sa Quezon City. And then sa disaster preparedness, naipasok din po yun sa UBAS. Sa paghahanda, bilang paghahanda sa The Big One, dito po sa Metro Manila. Napag-isa ko po yung 2 barangay, yung simbahan, saka yung Knights of Columbus. Anyway, member din po ako ng Knights of Columbus Council 8753. Napatibay po namin ng Disaster Preparedness and Mobilization Ministry sa programa po na ginawa ko po nung na-assign din po ako doon. Kasi wala pong gustong tumanggap dahil nga po puro disaster yung pinag-uusapan. Sa akin po na-assign po yon, tinanggap ko naman po. Sa madaling salita po, naging matibay po at naging maganda yung UBAS. Ang problema lamang po ito, nung naging effective po ako bilang Public Affairs Ministry sa UBAS, yung dating natalo na sa pagkakapitan, ngayon po ay appointed kagawad dahil namatay po yung isang kapitan, ay yung isang kagawad. Ngayon po, Father, binabalikan po ako dahil na-discover ko po yung mga ginawang pandaraya noong panahon ng eleksyon. Binabalikan po ako sa punto pa nga na pati yung mga ibang kasalanan na wala akong ginagawa, sinisisi ako. Tapos gusto, ang pinagbabalita pa, papatanggal daw po ako sa barangay. Sa simbahan po. Sabi ko, Katoliko po ako, binyagan na gumaganap sa bilang Public Affairs Ministry. Ginagampanan ko lamang po. Pero, ayun po yung problema na nararanasan ko ngayon. May banta rin po sa akin, ipapadampot daw po ako sa barangay kapag nag-video pa raw po ako, nag-vlog. Naganap po lahat yun nung ako po ay talagang designated po ng diocese at ng parokya, nagampanan. Naging effective po ako doon hanggang sa magkaroon ng pandemya. Nakatuwang po ako ng dating kapitan kasi suspended po yung kapitan namin ngayon. Sa madaling salita po, yung mandato ko sa PAM, ginagamit po ngayon dahil sabi, partisan daw po ako. Ganong neutral naman po ako kasi question po tuloy yung pagiging PPCRB ko kasi naging effective po ako sa UBAS Ayun po, Father, yung dilemma ko lang po bilang individual. Nakakaranas po ako ng panggigipit, nakakaranas po ako ng pananakot sa barangay namin ngayon. Kaya po nakahanda na po yung report ko, yung counter. Siguro counter demand, yung sinumpang salay. Sa hingi po ako ng tulong sa diocese dahil hindi na po maganda yung nangyayari. Opo.
Alam na.
Salamat po.
Baka maybe Father Ralph will later on part of the Sanobaliches. Baka you just come to Father Ralph and probably ask for possible action about this panggigipit. Okay, entertain natin si Arnel Galgo.
Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Masayang-masaya po ako sa pakikinig, lalo na dun sa mga simbahang representant na nare-representa rito. Kasi nakaka-inspire dun sa trabaho. Ako po yung nagtatrabaho naman sa labas ng simbahan. Ako po yung connected sa Commission on Human Rights, particularly yung Oral History Project, at nakikipag-ugnayan din sa NASA dun sa pagtatayo ng mga diocesan human rights desk. Doon po muna kay brother, nabanggit niya sa Diocese of Navaliches po, meron po tayo diyang sa pagkakipagtulungan ni Father Tony, no? Meron po tayo diyang Diocesan Human Rights Desk. Ang pangalan po, Justice and Peace Desk, kasi yan yung mas churchy, mas yan po ang lengguwahe natin. Wala tayong masyadong lengguwahe sa yung human rights at human rights. Justice and Peace sa atin yan. So yan ang pinangalan sa Diocese of Navaliches. Brother, makipag-ugnayan ka kay Brother Carl. Baka po makatulong ang CHR, makikipag-ugnayan po sa CHR NCR para pag-usapan yung current status mo. So, doon naman po sa ating talakayan, talaga pong saludo kay Father Wilmer sa kanyang pagbabahagi. Kapuri-puri po, sinulat ko nga po yung integration po ng pagpapalaganap ng Catholic social teachings. Di ba po, matagal na nating alam na yan ay best kept secret ng simbahan. Mukhang unti-unti nababago na yan. At isa pong halimbawa dyan, yung efforts nila Father Wilmer. Lalong-lalo po yung integration among ministries, at nakita ko po, dinamay pa nila Father Wilmer yung mga NGOs at civil society na nakikipag-ugnayan sa simbahan. Napakahalaga po nun. At tama nga rin po no, na kailangan pag-ingatan at maging critical tayo sa pakikipag-ugnayan sa usaping politikal, kasi kung materialis lang po, mga resource person at mga seminar training, ang dami pong nagkalak sa paligid, pero maaari pong iba ang pinanggagalingan at agenda na sinasabi po, no, yung political agenda. Tayo naman po yung may particular na pinanggagalingan. Yan nga po yung halaga ng Catholic social teachings. Gusto ko rin pong idiin yung nabanggit ni Bishop Afable na kung naghahanap po tayo ng gabay dun sa partisan politics saka yung institutional non-partisan politics, malinaw na malinaw po yung gabay ng mukhang naaalikabukan ng libro ng PCP2, both documents and decrees po. Karamihan po involved na sa politika, involved na sa social action, pero hindi po nabasa o wala po tayong armas ng dokumento na malinaw yung gabay na sinasabi sa atin at nabanggit na ng maraming nagsalita. So, mahalaga po yung paalala ni Bishop Afable. Balikan po natin yung mga dokumento, lalo-lalo na po yung PCP2 kasi ito po yung local documents. Balik po ako rin sa magaling na ginagawa nila Father Wilmer, yung pagpuproduce ng mga IEC materials na diocesan. Mahalaga po yung general, para po sa buong simbahan. Pero nakita ko po dun sa paglibot namin sa mga diocese nung nagtatayo kami ng Diocesan Human Rights Desk, mahalaga rin po yung internal na basa ng mga simbahan ng diocese dun sa kanilang geographic situations. Halimbawa po, malakas ang sigaw namin dito sa Manila ng tungkol sa tokhang, pero sa Iloilo pala, doon malakas yung sa agriculture. Pero nagtagpo na rin nung may mga pinapatay na pong magsasaka sa agriculture sector na tinutulungan na malakas ng Diocese of Iloilo. So, Archdiocese of Iloilo. So, yun po, mahalaga po yung general na IEC materials, pero mahalaga rin na magkaroon ng sabi nga ni Father Tony, na circles of discernment sa mga local churches para basahin talaga yung sitwasyon na inherent doon sa kalagayan nila. So, saludo po ako sa mga ganito. Sana po maparami natin ito at maabot natin yung iba pang malalakas sa institusyon ng simbahan katulad ng mga eskwelahan at ng mga BEC communities. Yun lang po at maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat, Arnel. Father, before you say something about the reaction, maganda dahil parang yung ating webinar ngayon, walang masyadong question. Marami ang reactions at mga suggestions. Mayroong isa dito, Father, from Eleanor Pena. Maganda daw yung ating yung presentation, pero ang sabi niya, how do we translate the materials presented into sizes and more understandable to different types of audiences? In the presentation, only 20% reach college level and can comprehend the issues. What about the other 80%? What are the different platforms we can use aside from integration into the curriculum? Father Wilmer.
Okay, so isa-isahin ko lang muna po yung una, yung galing kay Brother June sa Laiko, na affirm naman ng simbahan na nasa realm ng Laiko ang partisan politics. So, wink of an eye from the bishop, from the clergy, from the parish priest, okay na yun. Walang endorsement, pero kung talagang yun yung product ng discernment nila, ito yung pinipili nila, why not? Ano po? Pangalawa, doon naman sa reaction ko doon sa nag-share na isa, na real politics is local politics. Kaya yung binabanggit na ubas, successful siya, kaso ginipit siya, wag nating bitiwan yun. Kasi yun yung mahalaga, na bago tayo magtampisaw sa mga national issues, importante kung gusto maging good citizen, doon ka muna maging engaged, mag-participate sa local politics. Kasi local politics is the real politics. Yung sa barangay level. Importante na, kaya nga may Napoles tayo noon eh. Kasi natutulog tayo sa pansitan. Ibig sabihin, yung mga names pala natin sinama na sa mga magre-receive ng mga fertilizers sa fertilizers camp, pero hindi natin alam kasi wala tayong pakialam sa local politics. And then doon naman kay Arnel sa CHR na talagang dapat customized. Ibig sabihin, punta ka muna sa grupo, pakinggan mo sila. We should be a listening church. And that's the time na mafe-feel mo kung ano talaga yung kailangang material nila. I think this will also answer the question of Ma'am Ellen na dapat matranslate natin sa language ng mga nasa laylayan yung mga tinuturo ng simbahan. So hindi na complex, hindi masyadong doctrinal, kundi yung parang pang-araw-araw na experience ng mga tao. Doon natin sila maiko-communicate. Kasi after all, kaya the word became flesh. Kasi yung divine language is difficult to fathom, to understand. Kaya the divine language is translated into the human language through the flesh of Jesus Christ. Through His accompanying, yung paglalakad niya dito for 3 years during His public ministry. So importante yung paglalakad din natin, yung accompanying natin, yung shepherding natin sa level ng mga purok, level ng mga streets, level ng mga zones, sa household, yung pagdadalaw natin sa bawat bahay ng ating mga parishioners. So yun po yung mga may sasabi ko sa based sa mga reactions na narinig kong napakaganda.
Maybe last question, Father. You will recognize Rick Cruz. Rick?
Yung pan...
Rick,
okay, nakauna po ba?
Yes, okay.
Okay, magandang umaga po. Okay. Napagnilayan ko lamang po, meron po tayo sitwasyon sa tuwing eleksyon, may mga tao po nag-iisip na matapos po lahat na ginawang pag-aaral, katulad ng nabanggit kanina, meron po lugar na wala po kandidatong lumalabas na karapat-dapat o malinis. O masasabi natin after evaluation talaga pong hindi maganda ang kanyang background check, hindi maganda ang pamilya na meron po mga sangkot sa pagnanakaw. Sa madaling salita po, wala po sino man sa naglalabang kandidato ang mapapagpilian na karapat-dapat. Ngayon, meron pong sitwasyon, ang mentality po ng ibang botante, tama po bang sabihin nila na piliin na lamang yung mas lesser evil? kung sino po yung mas kokonti ang kasalanan o ang konti lang magnakaw ay siya nating iboto. Or meron din po mentality na wag na lang bumoto. Alin po ba doon ang ano po ang inyong magiging position doon at ano po ang ating rekomendasyon para sa mga ganung tao? Alin po ang tama? Yun po.
Yeah, sorry sa lahat. We have limited time and I would like to ask Father Wilmer to answer the last question.
Okay, yun ang pinakamahirap na tanong kasi yung konsyensya ang susundin mo dyan eh. Depende pa rin yan kasi pwedeng great sinner siya pero parang si San Pablo na malaki ang chance na magbago, pero pwede naman siyang small time sinner pero matigas na ang ulo at hindi na, wala nang chance magbago. So hindi natin alam, wala tayong hard and fast na mga rules para sa pagdi-discern. Ang kailangan lang yung ikaw, kasi ikaw mismo ang nandyan, you will be able to decide on the situation. So usually yung rule na sinasabi, choose the lesser evil. So parang sa mga hindi na magdi-discern, yun na lang, alamin mo na lang kung sino yung lesser evil, pansamantala, butuhan mo muna. Pero with the assignment, kasi work in progress nga itong social transformation, na kailangan talaga mag-encourage and mag-build tayo ng leadership. Kasi yun yung we are in a society that either we lead or be led. Kailangan we are either we are able to transform or destroy our society through our own leadership. So kailangan talaga na assignment natin na mag-create ng mga good leaders in our society.
Okay, so Father Wilmer, ang ibig pong sabihin nun ay we should still exercise our right of suffrage. We should still participate in the election no matter what. Ano po? Okay,
Opo, and participate. Hindi lang sa election, kundi during his term, bantayan natin siya para hindi siya gumawa ng kalokohan.
Okay, salamat po, Father Wilmer. May masasabi na ako sa mga ibang ganun. May kwento na tayo. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Brother Rick. Salamat sa napakagandang talakayan natin. Talagang we try to be interactive kasi lang kulang tayo sa oras para maintindihan natin ang ating pinag-usapan. Hindi lang sinasabi ni Father Wilmer na banking, kundi yung nanggaling sa baba para malaman natin yung ating pinag-usapan at tagos sa ating puso't isipan. At siguro mga konting announcement, maybe later on next month, so watch out yung another webinar, follow-up webinar, this one, as we go into the time or yung yung election time talaga by October. So magkakaroon tayo pa rin ng ating mga webinars at patuloy tayo. At I would like to remind you yung sinabi ni Father Tony na magkaroon ng Circle of Discernment. August 6 Mindanao, September 6 Mindanao, September 7 Visayas, and September 10 Northern and NCR and Northern Luzon. NCR and Southern Tagalog, and then Northern Luzon yung 9. So watch out. At salamat po at tayo po ay umabot more than 160. Kanina sinabihan na po 160 yung ating mga participants at more than nasa 60 or 60 dioceses ang nag-attend sa ating webinar ngayon. So at this point, I will call on our dear Bishop, Bishop Honesto Onchoko, one of the council member of the Episcopal Commission on Social Action, Justice, and Peace. At the same time, our dear Bishop in the Diocese of Cubao, Father Bishop Nest, for your closing remark and blessing.
Nakamute.
Okay na.
Ako po ay taus-puso nagpapasalamat sa lahat ng nakisa sa ating webinar ngayon. Pero number one, syempre sa nagbahagi, nagsalita, nabuksan ang ating mga kaisipan, ang ating damdamin kung paano una nagsimula ang the word politics, dalawang importanteng salita, at saka education, at saka pakikialam. So lahat tayo nakinig. Hindi ko na po palalawakan pa ang aking sasabihin, pero I would like to point one thing na dapat nating laging tandaan na sinabi ni Father Wilmer Tria. Ang ating trabaho, ang ating apostolate, ang ating ministry, it's true, right now, it's focused on election 2022. Pero nabanggit niya several times, ang ating ginagawa, it is a work in progress. Parang hindi tayo manghina, parang hindi tayo ma-discourage. Marami tayong hope for election 2022, just like previous elections. Pagkatapos nun, we just feel disappointed, frustrated, after giving ourselves, giving seminar, all the preparation, lahat binigay natin tapos hindi na-execute o hindi yung mga inaasahan natin hindi natupad. But we should not get discouraged. Tandaan po natin, bago nabuo ang bayan ng Diyos, ang tagal, yung Diyos mismo naging pasensyoso. He was patient. Laging tumatalikod, laging rebelde, hindi masunurin yung kanyang mismong bayan, pero hindi nag-give up ang Diyos. So tayo rin po, hindi dapat tayo mag-give up. Bakit? Hindi tayo naman nag-iisa. Ngayon, kung tayo nag-iisa, umaasa sa ating mga sariling kakayanan, talino, resources, then we have reasons to surrender kapag hindi tayo ay nagtagumpay. Pero kung kasama natin ang Diyos, sa lahat ng ating gagawin, sa lahat ng ating hakbang, alam natin balang araw, magtatagumpay po tayo. So lahat ng ating gagawin, hopefully, it will inspire hope. It will give fire to work for transformation. But after all things have been done, kung sakali pong things will not work out, we should think further. Mahaba pa ang ating lalakbayan, pero tandaan natin, kapag kasama ang Diyos, siguradong magtatagumpay po tayo balang araw. So muli, Father Wilmer, maraming salamat sa inyong pagbabahagi. Very enlightening at lahat ng mga dapat bigyan ng pansin na bigyan mo, tsaka pati mga concrete applications, how we should somehow see what has happened, what is happening, and what might happen. Napakaganda yung mga guidelines, mga pamantayan binigay mo upang ang ating paglalakad ay kasama ang Diyos maging matagumpay. So muli po sa inyong lahat, maraming salamat. Palakpakan natin, virtual clap kay Father Wilmer at sa ating lahat.
Thank you, Bishop Ness. Thank you po.
So sumainyo ang Panginoon.
At sumainyo.
Naway ingatan kayo ng Panginoon, ilayo sa lahat ng sakit, kasamaan at lalo sa ating kalaban ngayon sa COVID-19. Amen. Naway manatiling maalap ang inyong pananampalataya, pag-asa, pag-ibig sa Diyos at sa kapwa hanggang marating kayo sa kalangitan. Amen.
Amen.
At pagpalain kayo ng makapangyarihang Diyos, Ama at Anak at Espiritu Santo.
Amen.
Mabuhay po kayo.
Maraming salamat. Ingat po kayo lagi.